All right, welcome everyone. If you watched our first series of these videos with exploring OpenAI in FSI, then welcome back. If this is your first time watching these videos, we're just going to be covering the topic of OpenAI in industry. With me today is my peer, Chris Donlan. Chris, you want to say hi?
Hey, Sarah. Nice talking to you today.
Yeah. So as a reminder, we are both architects here at Microsoft. Today, we're just unofficially having a little bit of a conversation around the topic of OpenAI. A quick reminder, just for those who might have forgotten, OpenAI is a research lab. Microsoft has invested in it as well quite heavily over the past couple of years. OpenAI consists of a team of researchers and engineers that are dedicated to advancing artificial intelligence in a way that it benefits humanity as a whole. Their mission aligns quite closely, really, with Microsoft missions to empower every person and organization on the planet to achieve more. The research that the OpenAI team does in the field of AI includes NLP models, natural language models. They also do computer vision, algorithms that can recognize and understand the visual data, such as images and videos. They do robotics, which is intelligent robotic systems that can learn from human demonstrations and perform complex tasks in the real world. And they do reinforcement learning. That's a form of machine learning that involves training agents to make decisions based on rewards and punishments to create intelligent systems that can learn from experiences. So, when we talk about Microsoft and OpenAI's relationship, what we want to introduce you to is Azure OpenAI. What is that? It is a combination of the two technologies, Azure or Microsoft Cloud and OpenAI, with the objective of building enterprise grade applications. Based on the partnership with OpenAI, there are three main goals that Microsoft is going to be delivering on. The first one is to use Azure's infrastructure, including security, compliance, and regional availability, to help out our partners and customers to build enterprise grade applications. The second one is to deploy OpenAI model capabilities across Microsoft products. And the third one is to use Azure to power all of OpenAI's workloads. There are a number of models that you're probably already heard about, like ChatGPT. I know our slide says coming soon, but ChatGPT is already here. These are models that can be adapted to your specific task, including but not limited to content generation, summarization, semantic search, or natural language to code translation. When you use Azure OpenAI, the solutions will be deployed to your Azure subscription. You have a wide range of pre-trained AI models. You have tools for the fine-tuning of those models. You can have APIs for interacting with the models. And just by the nature of them being hosted on Azure, then you also get the scalability, reliability, security, and compliance from our cloud. If you want to find out more about OpenAI and specifically Azure OpenAI, our peers have done an incredible video that gives you an hour long look into those tools. And Chris, I'm going to hand it over to you and really talk about what does this mean for the retail consumer goods space.
Yep, that's right. Thanks, Sarah. So the first kind of subvertical we're going to look at is consumer goods and how AI, and in particular generative AI, can help gain efficiencies within the brand and CPG space. And so first we want to call it is R&D manager. And so we've seen in the last couple of years a trend of ERP solutions incorporating more kind of process around the life cycle of products. So rather than just kind of storing products, the transportation of products, as well as, of course, the sale of products, we're seeing that life cycle start earlier. And so things like consumer trends and spending habits are now incorporated earlier into that planning to ensure that we have the right market fit for the right product. The second one I want to call out too is frontline worker. And so this is an area where we've seen large advances with computer vision. So using computer vision tools to help frontline workers, count inventory, identify anomalies and other kind of QA type, quality assurance type issues that may happen on a factory or shop floor. Accidents, spills, or broken equipment, on the shop floor, even the retail space. And so I think we'll continue to see computer vision in this space in advance to help relieve the burdens of those frontline workers. From a marketing perspective, we've all seen the examples. This is probably maybe your first chat GPT example. I know it was one of mine of generating some content for you. And so we see generative AI helping with things like creating branding and marketing content, as well as on the support side, things like manuals and documentation around products or services to help accelerate the pace in which that content can be created. On the field seller side, this is also an area where we saw AI make some advances early on in the CRM space. So how we kind of manage these deals, how a field seller would manage a deal, identifying the next best action for a particular sales opportunity within a CRM system. And so I think we'll see more advances in that space as well as we see kind of CRM systems kind of move away from traditional kind of forms over data to more holistic systems where you're getting kind of signals and data feeds from various sources, not just what the sales folks are doing themselves. Let's go
Great.
ahead to the next subvertical.
Before we do that, I
Sure.
noticed that you have the entire chain covered, all the way from
Yeah.
R&D to the field seller and personas across or entities across those that could benefit from this. And a
Mhm.
lot of the examples seem to be not necessarily new scenarios,
Mhm.
scenarios that AI has already tackled in the past, but maybe
Correct. Yep.
OpenAI is just going to unlock that further.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I think it'll do a better job again at doing that modeling, right? So consumer goods, the brands, they spend a lot of time trying to understand their markets, right? And they spend a lot of time on marketing, right? And so there'll be some of the earlier adopters of these tools to help with those workloads. Next is fashion retail. And so similar to the consumer goods one, they call it the design hub. And so a similar idea of using AI and generative AI to help with the product development or to help with the fashion merchandise that a retailer would sell or a fashion company would produce. Same ideas around consumer trends. And also, one thing retailers and fashion retailers in particular are looking for is ways to kind of bridge that gap between the physical store and the digital space, right? So things that you may see like virtual try on, things like try on these glasses or this shirt or these pants or these shoes. And that's an area where we do see AI being used now. And I think we'll continue to see it used in that space in the future. The marketing one we talked about last time on the consumer goods, so we won't spend much time on that. But on the brand manager piece, this is also important. Big trend within fashion retailers is around clienteling tools, right? So hey, as a customer walks into a store, understanding what products they might want to buy, which products will fit them best, kind of based off previous purchases as well as previous returns, right? Which products don't fit them well. And so using generative AI to build those models to identify what is a good that we think a consumer will buy, and also more importantly, what is a good that a consumer won't return, right? Because in fashion, reverse supply chain logistics is a big topic for them. And so trying to reduce the number of returns is a focus for all fashion retailers that I speak to. On the e-commerce side, this is an area too where we've seen advances in AI, but we'll see more around things like more personalization, trying to reduce things like abandoned carts, right? And so using AI to help close a deal, right? By offering kind of real-time promotions to ensure that you do buy that thing that you're considering buying. And so we'll see those personalized deals continue to evolve. And then also I think we'll see AI help out with some of the A/B testing that happens within these retailers, especially their websites of, hey, is this button better over here or over there, right? And we know a lot of time goes into that process in that tool set. And so using AI to help make recommendations for your e-commerce site and then kind of testing how the results of those changes produce in terms of closing deals.
Great. Yeah, this is really taking it out of like the bot scenario. That's really what people tend to think of only when they
Yeah, oh,
hear
yeah,
ChatGPT
yeah.
and OpenAI. This is really making it real.
Yes, yeah, a lot more to bots, that's for sure.
Yeah. And then the last pillar.
Yeah, so grocery retail, right? We break out this vertical because grocers have unique challenges, right, around their goods, just the sheer number of SKUs that they manage, right? It's unbelievable amount of SKUs. And then, of course, food waste, so ensuring that the food doesn't go bad. And so retailers are always concerned about category management, right, to ensure that they have the right SKUs in the right place at the right time. This is an area that we've seen, it's been around for decades, right? But the trend we're seeing here now is having more auxiliary data sets that are brought into the planning to ensure that the grocery stores have the products that consumers want at that time, because those trends tend to shift pretty frequently. And then on the demand planning side, this is something that's, you know, demand planning is largely been done by statistical models that were developed in the 19th century, right? And so we'll see more advances here around this and around planning. One area, Sarah, that I really like is, in the past, things like neural networks haven't been used that much in demand planning because it's a bit of a black box, right? How did you come up with that number? And so one thing about ChatGPT in particular is, hey, tell me how you came up with this model, right? What are the relevant variables, right, that make something significant for a particular product and the need for that. And so having things like ChatGPT be able to explain itself will help with demand planning and will give people who do demand planners more ideas around those models and what goes into them.
Yeah, that's huge also, I think, for from a responsible AI perspective, right?
Mhm.
Because we've seen example on example in the past on the news where because models were a black box, criteria that isn't fair or that had bias from the sample data was
Mhm.
included in the model. So having the model be able to explain the criteria will also allow the companies to catch those biases in case they get filtered in. That's a great example to highlight.
Yeah. We talked about marketing in the last two slides, so we won't spend any time there. But I do want
Yeah,
to talk about
everyone has
stores.
banker. Everyone has marketing, right?
Exactly. Yeah. That's use case number one. But we talked a little bit about store associates in the consumer goods slide, but I think it's worth mentioning here as well. One thing we are seeing more of is, historically, these kind of data sets were only available to people kind of in the back office, right? Front office workers didn't have access to this data. They were just told, do this, put more of this out, put less of this out, put this here, put this there. And so, again, kind of building on the clienteling theme we've talked about before, we'll see the same level of personalization that we've seen with things like clothes are also kind of move its way into the grocery store. And so ensuring that those store associates have that information at their fingertips is a big focus here for grocers. And then obviously using AI to help make sense of that data in a way that is relevant and actionable to a store associate is on the horizon.
I really like that one, empowering that frontline employee. I've seen so many incredible stories when that frontline employee gets the right tools or leveraging the insights that they have, because they're
Yeah.
right there with your consumer. So it just makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, totally. I think we're used to kind of dealing in silos where if you're working with a customer service rep, when you have to explain your problem to them, and then you go to the store and the person, the frontline worker at the store has no context or history of the conversation you had with the customer service rep. And so trying to kind of bridge that gap is an area where we're seeing the merging of systems of both kind of e-commerce solutions, order management systems, as well as case management tools to help pick a single picture of customer sentiment in one single point of view of how a customer is interacting with your store or with your brand.
That's awesome. Well, I thank you, Chris, for covering some of these use cases with us. I'll assume this is just like a glance at what the possibilities are and what's more to
Yeah.
come on the space, but this at least gives folks something to start thinking on what it
Mhm.
might apply in their space. For those who don't have access to Azure OpenAI or haven't really learned more about the tool, I hope Chris gave you some stuff to think about. And if you do want to get access, you can request access at aka.ms/OAI-access. You can also go into aka.ms-azure slash azure-openai to learn more about the service, or we'll have a link to the YouTube video that our peers did that covers the service. And if you do have a Microsoft account team or a partner account team, reach out to them to discuss more, particularly if you have a use case. If after hearing Chris talk, something light up, hey, I feel like I could apply this to my business in a certain way, definitely reach out to your Microsoft account team to work with you. And with that said, thanks everyone for watching. Any last words, Chris, before we wrap up?
No, Sarah, thanks for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you. Bye bye, everyone.
Bye, all.